Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Vastaya, Vishnu Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivasesha Sunyavari Prashtatara Satarine. Anyone know how old Krishna was when he lifted Govardhan Hill with the little pinky of his left hand? 6 years old. Just coming into his 6th year. What did you say? 7. When Krishna was well into his 6th year. Yeah. Krishna is eternal. But for his Leela and pastimes, he manifests in different ages. How old are you? How old is this? What's your name? And how old are you? 5. Anyone 6 years old here? So Krishna was 1 year younger, and he lifted a great big hill, Govardhan Hill. And Krishna already was the enchanted, everyone in Vraj was attracted to Krishna. Especially, throughout all his days, especially as a young child. So much, like we heard in the prayers, he drowned the inhabitants. What comes next? He drowned the inhabitants in pools of ecstasy. What was the ecstasy? These wonderful pastimes. Yeah. So I tend to comment a bit. Let's start reading. So when Krishna was well into his 6th year, Nanda Maharaj moved his family, animals and subjects from Vrindavan to Nandagram. Yeah? So they moved, that's in the Krishna book, you can read about that. And Nanda Maharaj, he's the king. Yeah? The king of, feudal king of a particular area, yeah? Of cowherds. So they moved. They're drawn by spontaneous attachment to their eternal home. So this is the eternal home, Nandagram. Yeah, they moved from Vrindavan to Nandagram. Late in the month of Ashvina, after Krishna entered his 7th year. Well done. When Krishna had entered his 7th year, the Rajvasis began to make preparations for Indrayagna. Yeah? And because, why is it important for the Rajvasis, Indrayagna? The Vaishyas, yeah, so they depend upon rain. Yeah, so they often always a big preparation for it. Indrayagna, so the Brahmins will be preparing, getting ready, and all the housewives are preparing different items for the yagna. Yeah. Then on the dark moon day of Kartik, also known as Dipali, and that's on Wednesday, yeah? Wednesday, yeah. The ritualistic Brahmins who were conducting a fire sacrifice, yeah, this comes after this pastime, they refused to give the young gopas the food for which he had begged. You read that pastime in the Krishna book? Very well known pastime. These brahmanas were very pakka, and they knew everything. So he was doing yagna, and then Krishna sent his friends to go and ask for some food, some alms. And the Brahmins were so fixed in their yagna. Actually, it's everybody you can confirm, isn't it? Once you start chanting mantra, you shouldn't stop. No?
Yeah, you don't get up. Really.
Yeah, you don't get up, you don't move. It's an offence. If you start chanting Purusha Sukta and you get up to use the toilet, it's an offence. Once you start, you have to finish. So the Brahmins were doing that. But if Krishna and Balaram send a message, then you stop. So that's that pastime. So it's connected because they were doing ritualistic activities, yeah. So and the Indra Yagna as well. So the devotees. So what happened? The devotee wives, the Brahmana, the wives of the Brahmanas, they gave everything that Krishna wanted, and they were seen as being the most exalted. They had a natural attraction to Krishna. They heard about him, they seen his pastimes. Yeah. So then the cowherd boys, they got all the food they wanted, the stomachs full, they're very blissful, and they gathered their cows, and etc. And they're making, Krishna saw his father. Krishna was a very curious young boy. You know, lots of mothers here, when children of a certain age, they ask lots of questions, isn't it? So many questions. Can be very curious. What's this? What's that? What's this? So the same. So Krishna was asking Nanda Maharaj, why is he making so many arrangements in the village of the ritualistic brahmanas? Because he had previously, Krishna knew why his father was making. So Krishna knew why his father was making elaborate arrangements in the village of the ritualistic brahmanas, because he's previously participated. So he's previously participated in the Indra Yagna, but this year it's going to be different. Yeah. So what had happened in the year, last year now, and next year it comes, Indra had become very, what's the next word? Proud. Yeah. King of heaven. He's controlling all the heavens. Very powerful. In a very powerful position. So it's quite, when one is in a powerful position, one can forget one's actual position as actually being insignificant. Yeah, Krishna is really the powerful one. So Indra become overcome. So Krishna is very kind. Indra is a devotee of the Lord. Krishna doesn't like his devotees to become proud. Yeah? So he's going to make a nice arrangement where Indra is going to become very, very humble. Yeah? But Indra had become proud of his limited power, and so Krishna, unhappy to see the Vrajavasis were squandering their devotion on the paltry demigod. Devotion actually is meant for the Supreme Lord himself, and great respect is given to the Devas who are acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord. But here, they were squandering their devotion on the paltry demigod. So, requested by his father, so he requested his father to perhaps revise his plans. Yeah. And he spoke very sweetly, so sweetly, in a very attractive way. Yeah. Gopal respectfully addressed Nanda Maharaj that the boldness of kindness, simplicity and joy, Krishna, that's Krishna, the abode of kindness, simplicity and joy. Oh, honoured one, what is this great endeavour you are undertaking? What is it meant to accomplish? If this is a ritual sacrifice, for which demigod is it meant? So remember, this little boy is asking these questions. And is the scriptural evidence to justify it? And is there scriptural evidence to justify performing it? What's the praman? Krishna's asked, what's the praman? Someone asked me a question the other day, so what was it? Some interesting, what's the praman for that? So Krishna is a young boy, 7 years old. So he's asking his father, what's the praman? What's the scripture? What does it say in scripture? Anyone know what he says next? Krishna says, if you don't know the knowledge behind the yajna, then you don't get the benefit. So just like with the Maha Mantra, you have to know the Maha Mantra, what it means, what's the sadhya, and what's the perfection. What's the practice and what's the perfection. Then you get full benefit. So Krishna is speaking to Nanda Maharaj like this. So Nanda Maharaj is disarmed by Krishna's unexpected eloquence as a young boy, speaking very sweetly. Then Nanda Maharaj remembers, because Krishna is a mystical, one sense, Krishna, don't forget, the residents of Vrindavan, they're in Maya. The residents of Vrindavan are in deep Maya. Does that sound right? They're in Yoga Maya. Yeah, we're in Mahamaya. But they're bewildered. They're bewildered. They're by Yoga Maya. So then Nanda Maharaj is seeing his young son, this Gopal, speaking so sweetly and asking about scripture. Then he begins to remember Garga Muni. Yeah, Garga Muni said. Again, Muni says, Garga Muni's prediction that Krishna would be in quality equal to Narayan. Yeah, so he remembers, so this was said by Garga Muni. if the Muni's prophecy were true, would any topic be difficult for Krishna to understand? So Nanda Maharaj, he lovingly embraced his son and sat down with him. And Nanda's face was glowed with Vatsalya, so he has this obviously Vatsalya relationship with Krishna, parenthood. And he says, "My dear son, this ritual is a popular custom observed by our family for a very long time. Yeah. Goes back generations. Our cows depend on rain for green grasses, and so we perform the ritual to preserve our wealth, the cows. Rain comes from the clouds, which are controlled by the demigod Indra. When he is pleased by a sacrifice, he sends abundant rainfall. In this way, we prosper by his blessings. Scriptures say that if we neglect demigods like Indra out of lust or enmity, then we shall be ruined. Now I have answered your questions and described our most important duty. Are you satisfied? Is Krishna going to be satisfied? No. So it pained Krishna to hear his father express such devotion to a demigod. Not to mention one who had become so full of himself. So Indra has become very proud. So Nanda Maharaj has so much devotion to this Indra, especially when they're living with me, the supreme truth, the power behind all the demigods. Yeah. So sometimes Krishna, like in the pastime with Yasoda Damodar, he's covered by his own yoga mind potency, where he doesn't know he's the Supreme Lord. That's why he's crying. That's why he's running away from Mother Yasoda. It's not as if he is, okay, here's that pastime again, now I'm going to cry, now I'm going to run away. No, he actually forgets he's God. Then he can really enjoy, then he can really enter into that rasa of relationship with Mother Yasoda. But here, he's not here, he says, me, the supreme truth, the power behind all the demigods. Krishna thus decided to enact a pastime in which he would not only humble Indra, but also remind his devotees that they need not divert their attention to Indra or any other so-called gods. Okay? You just place all your yada, yatamula, nishtadena. Krishna is the root of whole of existence. You will not be lacking if you dedicate yourself 100% to the worship of Krishna. This is a lesson from this pastime. Yeah. In his reply to Nanda, Krishna refuted the reasoning his father used to justify the Indra Yagna. And he did so with such eloquence that the Vrajvasis were not only pleasantly surprised, but also mesmerized. Sweet, a young little boy speaking such philosophy. Already they're totally attracted to him. And now he's speaking such philosophy. So Krishna based his arguments on two philosophies, Karma Mimamsa and Shankya. I won't have time to describe them in detail. But thus, for the purpose of his pastimes, he appeared to contradict the Vedic conclusions and instead favor atheism. Now, shortly, Karma Mimamsa means you just do what it says in the Vedas. It's like mechanical. And okay, God or not, but you're going to get the result. You just follow these specific rituals very strictly, and you get the result. Yeah, that's common. There's no need for worship of God, basically. Yeah. Did I get that right? Something. Yeah. Finally, Krishna offered an alternative to Indra Puja. What was that alternative? Govardhan, worship Govardhan. Yeah. So Krishna now saying, he said, the cows live on grass, and grass is supplied to us by Govardhan hill. Yeah. Therefore, let us worship the cows and Giriraj. Giriraj ki jai. Yeah. And since our family always takes shelter of pure-hearted Brahmanas, let the paraphernalia collected for worship of Indra be utilized as a sacrifice for pleasing the Brahmanas as well. So, Indra's, he's very proud. They've got all the paraphernalia together. Krishna's now saying, now just use it for Govardhan. So, again, he's going to humble Indra. You know? So, but, yeah, then Nanda Maharaj placed Krishna upon his lap and replied. He lovingly placed Krishna on his lap. So he's just a young boy, perhaps like, pacifying. Yes, you're right. Yeah. Since you have asked, let me arrange for a separate sacrifice for Indra, but just now, let me now perform the sacrifice for King Indra. Okay, we'll do something for Govardhan, but let's do something for Indra. And yeah, okay, we'll do something for Govardhan, you're right. He provides us all everything that we need. So yes, my dear son, you have a point. But we'll do the sacrifice for Indra, and then we can do something for Govardhan. But Krishna could not be mollified. He could not be satisfied. He did not want an alternative sacrifice. He wanted to break that demigod's false pride by redirecting the ingredients already collected. Everyone's with us so far? Yeah. Krishna looked into his father's eyes and spoke loud enough for all the cowherd men could hear his reply. My dear father, don't delay to prepare another sacrifice. Will take too much time. Better take the paraphernalia you have collected and the arrangements you have made for the Indra Yajna and engage them at once to satisfy Govardhan Hill and the local brahmanas. So by this time, a crowd had gathered round. They're hearing this conversation between Nanda Maharaj and young Gopal. So it's attracted other people in the household. So they gathered around Nanda and Krishna. They all voiced their unanimous opinion after hearing Krishna's pleasing words and seeing his beautiful face. The Devadashi said, whatever a dearly beloved person requests with pleasing and reasonable words should be accepted by all. We are one mind that Krishna's request should be accepted. So Nanda Maharaj, he's a king, but he's a very wonderful king, a very wonderful leader. He hears, so he's heard from all the villages, and they're in favour of just doing this yajna for Govardhan. So Nanda Maharaj heard the voice of the people, and also he looks at Krishna. Krishna's very determined. Yeah, Krishna's very determined. Look on his moon-like face. Yeah. So then he relents. And then okay, my son, tell us how to perform this Govardhan Puja. Never been done before. So Krishna wants, so how are you going to do it? If a fire sacrifice is needed, it must be conducted by learned brahmanas and offered to Agni. So Krishna is saying how to do Govardhan Puja. And offered to Agni, the fire god. For he is the shelter of everyone. And we can see his flames with our own eyes. From the grains, milk, ghee collected for the sacrifice, prepare sumptuous dishes of all descriptions. This is from Krishna book as well, such as rice, dal. You have dal over there? Rice, dal, vegetables, soups. You have soups? You make soups? All sweets. Halava, pakora, puri, and assorted cooked vegetables. You should also make plenty of milk preparations. That reminds me, I've got some milk preparation to give Mahabharata. Yeah. Birthing Pada. Yeah. Make sweets such as rice, sweet rice, rabri, sweet balls, sandesh, rasgulla, laddu. You have rasgulla? You make rasgulla? Someone make rasgulla? Rasgulla, laddu, and a variety of fancy cakes, both baked and fried and soaked in milk and sugar or sugar water. Set out leaf bowls full of ghee, honey, nectar drinks, larger containers full of yogurt, buttermilk and fresh butter, and a mountain of rock candy surrounded by shikarini rasala. What, you know what shikarini rasala is? Shikarini rasala. Perhaps it's, what's that yogurt? Sweet.
Oh,
Shrikant. Everyone like Shrikant? Everyone likes Shrikant. That young boy, just picture Krishna saying all of this. Everyone's looking at Krishna. They're hearing him say all this. Just a young 7-year-old boy. He's old. After the Brahmanas have poured oblations on the sacrificial fire, Feed them sumptuously until they laugh. That's the way you can tell that you please the Vaishnavas with Prashadam. But they get intoxicated and start joking. Then successful. Yeah. And feed them until they laugh, and so they cannot eat another bite. Then give them cows, grains, and money in charity. Yeah, so give them. Feed them up to the neck. Feed them so they can't take it. Feed them so they're laughing intoxication. Then give them cows, give them grains, and give them dakshin in charity. Yeah. Everyone, including the common people and insignificant animals, so like dogs and monkeys, should be sumptuously fed. So everyone, yeah, all the monkeys, all the dogs, yeah. This will also, we have Govardhan Puja, and when we do it, we always try and feed everyone that comes, homeless people, drug addicts, whatever, around Soho and around the area. Feed everyone. Feed the pigeons, Like dogs and monkeys you should feed the dogs and monkeys. They should be sumptuously fed. Everyone. And the cows should be nicely decorated and well fed with sweet, succulent grasses. So that's part of Govardhan Puja. You'll see in Leicester they have Govardhan Puja, and they all go to the farm they have in Leicester where the cows there, and they dress up the cows and they have it there. Through the brahmanas and cows you will worship Govardhan hill indirectly, and then by offering the hill a beautifully decorated mound made of a variety of foods, as we have here, Annakutta, you will worship him directly. After eating the feast and decorating yourselves with your best clothes, ornaments, and fragrant ointments, you may circumambulate the brahmanas, sacred fire, cows, and finally Govardhan hill. So everyone's dressed in their best today. Ladies normally, they're normally better dressed. So you're dressed in the Govardhan Puja, all dressed up in finery, and you'll see they eventually circumambulate Govardhan hill. Krishna smiled gently, glanced at his brother's Balaram's peaceful face, and concluded, I am only a child, yet I request you to do this. The cows, brahmanas, and Govardhan hill are all very dear to me. Please, therefore, reject worship of King Indra, which will bring only troubles, and instead, if you are so inclined, perform the sacrifice I have just outlined, which is all auspicious. Persons like you always act with your bodies, words, and minds only to please me. So in order to please me, now I humbly request you to conduct this all-important Govardhan Puja. So Nanda Maharaj is beaming with pride as a father. Why? Because his son's so wise. He's been smiling like a proud father, His son speaking such wisdom. And then he saw his subjects and everyone else is all melted by Krishna, they're all enamored by him, they're all smiling. So he ordered the preparations. Let it begin at once. Nanda Maharaj has become very inspired. That evening, the Vrajavasis camped by the banks of Manasa Ganga and observed the sacred festival of Diwali. But all they could talk about, what are they talking about? Govardhan Puja, what's going to happen the next day? Krishna, the way he was speaking, they're all full, can't stop. So they're attracted by Krishna. Overwhelmed by their love for Krishna, the gopas and gopis were like intoxicated persons. So they're not intoxicated with alcohol, okay? They're intoxicated with love and affection for Krishna. They're blissfully, they're kind of not aware of the consequences. We know the consequences. They're not aware. They're so absorbed in bliss that they're not thinking, what's going to happen if we don't make a sacrifice to Indra? They're not even aware of that. They paid no mind to the possible results of neglecting Indra. Their only desire was to please who? Krishna. And that's Krishna consciousness ultimately. The prominent desire in our heart should want to please Krishna and his devotees. Yeah? We have to make our way in the world, so we have to desire to get paid. We have to desire a house, that's natural. But the overriding desire that we want to cultivate throughout our life is, I just want to please Krishna. Yeah? And if we have that, and if we can leave this world with that situated in our heart, where are we going to go? Be with Krishna. So it says, So, early the next morning, 25 minutes left. Early the next morning, early the next morning, the Vrajvasis, what's the first thing all the Vrajvasis did in the morning? Took bath, yes, correct. They all bathed, yeah. Dressed and ornamented themselves. Then they decorated the cows with silver bells, pearl necklaces. They must be all excited, no? Very exciting thing happening. Silk clothes and plated their horns with gold. Yeah, so, gold. The excited cows ran around and jumped up and down to see their mothers so richly decorated. The great bulls bellowed in the morning mist as if they were great sages chanting morning prayers. Nana Maharaj and Mavi Soda looked like Indra and his consort as they shepherded their two sons before them, leading an endless train of servants carrying the wealth of the autumn harvest. Behind Raja's monarchs carrying ingredients for the sacrifice came the 9 Nandas. These are the brothers of Nanda Maharaj. Yeah? The 9 Upanandas, the 9 Rishabhanus, this extended family, also Radharani's father, all accompanied by their wives, children and grandchildren. Everyone's gathered. Next came, so they're all going towards to do the sacrifice. They're going towards Govardhan hill. Next came the cowherd men, the adolescents and boys, all dressed in colourful garments, decorated with necklaces. They do that in New Vajdan when they celebrate Govardhan Puja. They all dress in all bright colours, even the Brahmin all dressed in like hot pink and yellow, and they're all dressed for the occasion, as according to here. So, dressed with necklaces and boasting forest garlands, they wore turbans and carried multicoloured sticks. Then came behind them, then came the beautiful gopis, whose glories were beyond compare. And the most glorious amongst them was who? Who's the most glorious of all the gopis? Sri Radha, who wore splendid garments and glistening ornaments, and she rode in a palanquin. Palanquin. Radha repeatedly peeked out of her carrier like a jacora bird, eager to get a glimpse of who? Krishna, a glimpse of the Krishna moon up ahead, a moon that liberally distributed the soothing rays of his smile in all directions. There's a verse describes that Krishna's smile is cooling like a lotus. The prayers of Queen Kunti, she prays like that. That you are born of a lotus, that you wear a garland, you're bedecked with a garland of lotuses, and your glance is just like a lotus, and upon your feet there is lotuses. So Lalita and Vishaka walked behind the palanquin, followed closely by, I'm going to have to fast forward a bit, gives more details of that whole procession is given. That morning, Govardhan Hill, with its jewel stones, golden peaks, palatial caves, pretty far out place here. Jeweled stones, golden peaks, palatial caves, nectarian streams, and heavenly grasses looked especially beautiful, like a young bride on her wedding day. Then he describes Govardhan. The valleys of Govardhan resounded with auspicious sounds of instruments singing Vedic hymns. The forest creatures felt jolly because they revelled in the bliss radiating from the Vrajvasis. The entire scene resembled a lotus waiting to bloom in the warmth of the Krishna sun, and the world being engraved on the Maharaj. The inner petals, the eager Vrajvasis, the outer petals, the grazing cows. The Brahmanas selected a large stone outcropping to act as a proxy for the entire hill. So there are many stones go over that. So they're going to worship one particular stone. You see that if you go to Raj, the Brahmanas, they will worship one particular way. They worship with Govardhan here. So worship with aromatic incense, wild flowers, and 5-pronged gila, panchadipa, and finally camphor. So they complete the arti. The priests anoint Giriraj with cow dung, offering a sitting place, cool, refreshing arghya, water to wash his feet, drink to wash his mouth. That's Madhupaka, etc. After they had offered him the second mouthwash, Purna Archmaniam, the Brahmanas chanted Purushukta. Not a Purushukta. If we had time, we'd say you could chant Purushukta. It's a beautiful prayer, especially when there's 3 or 4 Brahmins saying it at the same time. Purushukta. Then they did a full abhishek of Giriraj, then began. The Vrajvasis marveled at the cows and the cows lowed at the side, or Murli. Okay, so they're doing the abhishek. There's a Panchamricha, Panchagavya. We do abhishek. We have abhishek on Wednesday from Govardhan Shila. So the bathing is complete. They're dried with soft towels, and the Brahmas decorated carefully with jewels and necklaces and a gold crown. Then the Vrajvasis come forward, they offer flower garlands they had made for Giriraj. And the Brahmanas offered these gifts to him with devotion. Fast forward a bit. Yeah. So, then came the offerings of food. That comes next. It plays a big role in Govardhan Puja. That was the first time I walked into a temple, was on Govardhan Puja. Yeah. And I'd already had the big full meal downstairs in a restaurant. And the ceiling was jumping, moving. I could hear this chanting. I hadn't been in a temple before, first time. So I said, what's going on up there? I said, festival, you should go up. So I went up. The kirtan finished, and I went in a room. They sat me down. I just eaten downstairs, full prashadam. I didn't know it was prashadam. And then I sat and they gave me this great big plate of kettle points. So many preparation, so many food stuff on the plate. I couldn't eat it all. And I went, I didn't know anything. I just wanted to fold it up and throw it in the bin. And it was, don't do it. You can't throw that all. Yeah, so, yes. Endless varieties of, from the rolling hills of grains, vegetables, sugar and fruit, and the bottomless lake of ghee, yogurt, milk and honey that filled Nanda's storehouse, countless preparations, endless varieties of aroma, texture, color, leaf plates, leaf cups and clay jugs, all full. Neither the kings on earth nor the demigods in heaven ever seen so much succulent preparations. Yeah. Soups, breads, vegetables, cakes, and describes, it goes into great detail here. It was full of, the whole area was a place called Dana Nivatana to Shankarshana Kund, was filled with offerings, hundreds of offerings, all filled with offerings. The last offering of food was in the form of a grand hill with peaks. This is, lakes, pastures, and waterfalls made entirely from grains, sweets, and nectar drinks. We got here. Yeah? Indeed, it appeared to be a second Govardhan hill. It goes on to describe in a wonderful way, seeing the delectable mountain of food called Anukul. The cowherd men and women offered obeisance to Govardhan. So the Govardhans placed their full faith in Krishna, and subsequently in Govardhan hill as well. Yet none of them were prepared for the way in which Krishna and Giriraj would reciprocate that faith. Anyone know what's coming next? And this they're not ready for. Yeah. While still prostrate on the ground, the Vrajvasis, they hear this rumbling sound, almost like thunder, like thunderclaps. They look up, they hear this sound coming from Govardhan, and they saw a beautiful blackish giant standing atop of Govardhan hill. So Krishna had manifested a form. Govardhan had personally manifested in a personal form. Krishna had manifested a colossal second form to authenticate the Vrajvasis' faith in Govardhan hill, a faith that was non-different from Krishna, and thereby therefore irresistibly attractive to behold. The Vrajavasis did not know what to make of the giant before them. So they're simple village people. This is Govardhan. And now with great form has appeared. The deity sat down upon the peak of Govardhan Hill as if it were a throne, directly facing all the cowherd men. His eyes are rolling in ecstatic bliss. His arms are swaying like vines in the wind, adding further wonder to his identity. The beautiful giant could simultaneously be seen seated in one place and spread throughout the length of the entire mountain like the Lord's universal form. Can you follow so far? Try and picture it in your mind's eye. This great form. He seems to be everywhere. He has a form here. He seems to spread everywhere. So something mystical is happening. Yeah? So still on their knees, some Gopas guessed that this giant was a mirage caused by the overlapping of shadow and light. So are we seeing it here? Is this actual real? Others said that it was the mountain personified. So they're all discussing, what is this? Why is this? And others said it was Krishna himself. They got it right here. The cows and the bulls, they're gazing motionless at the towering figure on the hill. Grass hanging from their mouths, and the little calves hid under the stomachs of their mothers for protection. The deer that describes the deer, rabbits, peacocks, parrots, and other creatures, everyone's dumbstruck. See this great form, he seems to be everywhere. Now, because all the Vrajavasis were fearful, they dared not say anything. They're all quiet. This is unprecedented what they're seeing now. You know? And so Krishna stood up with joined palms. So Krishna stood up, everyone's stunned, quiet, this great big form which Giriraj has taken. So Krishna stands up and he addresses his own expansion. Oh Lord, who are you? So he's asking, who are you? At first the divine form again rumbled like thundercloud. The sound of X. And the fearful Gopas thought, now we're all finished. Now we're all finished. They all become scared. But then the giant replied in a hushed voice, full of compassion, "O little boy with graceful limbs, I am Govardhan Hill." The proclamation resounded throughout Vraj, and all those who heard it were empowered to understand its inner meaning. So, all residents of Vrindavan, I am Govardhan Hill, the presiding deity of this place. I have appeared because I am pleased with your devotion. Please ask from me anything that your hearts desire. So they're all fearful, but hearing him speak, no, there's no fear. Yeah. Convinced that their faith in Krishna's instructions had been well placed, because Krishna persuaded them to do this, so now they're convinced that Krishna's instructions have been well placed. An explosion of joy burst from their lips, and all become ecstatic. Die, 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 Hari Hari Bol. Now that Govardhan had appeared to every person, the residents of Vraj began to chatter among themselves, looking upon the hill with love-filled eyes, as he affectionately gazed upon them in return. Most of the Vrajavasis did not think that the gigantic form on Govardhan Hill was Krishna himself. Indeed, even Radha, who can always detect Krishna's presence, was fooled by his clever disguise. To silence his kinsman, Krishna raised his arms and gravely said, "All residents of Vraja," to speaking to everyone, "let us offer respectful obeisances to this invisible deity who has manifested his divine form before our eyes." So Krishna falls to the ground, he pays prostrate obeisances, and Balaram follows, and all the residents of Vraj, they all follow. So their hearts are filled with wonder at this great deity before them. Then he says, "O people of Vraj, I am not like other deities who remained aloof from their worshippers. I reciprocated your faith by appearing before you. and now I will personally eat your offering. So this comes next. So he eats everything. And it's great. Speaking thus, the personified form of Govardhan Hill extended his right hand and began to eat all the food that offered to him, the rice, the vegetables, the savories, and the drinks. So all the Vrajavasis, they completely forgotten their fear, and they're offering everything to this deity of Govardhan. Yes. So the spontaneous devotion of the Vrajavasis, they're encouraging the deity to eat more and more and more. But with each time he's eating, he's growing larger. The form's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and more blissful. He's become more and more intoxicated with love, and the form's getting bigger and bigger. So he would eat with his right hand while shouting, while motioning with his left hand. Motioning with his right hand, motioning with his left hand. And what's he saying? He's eating, and this hand he's saying, "Hariyo, hariyo, more, more, bring me more." Yeah, that place has become known as Aniho. So Nanda Maharaj's followers saw Govardhan eating only the offerings they had placed at the foot. Nanda Maharaj's followers saw Govardhan eating only the offerings that he had placed in the foot of the hill. They could not see that he was also eating offerings from as far away as Nandagram. It continues. The Vrajavasis from all the villages in the area emptied their stocks of fruits, grains, and vegetables, and milk products to feed the gigantic deity of Govardhan Hill. But he kept demanding more. More. Finally, when they had nothing else to cook or offer, so now they become fearful. He's asking for more. They ain't got no more. We shan't finish, brother. Shan't over. It's all over. But now they're becoming fearful. Yeah. And of offending. So they look towards Balaram. What should we do? He's asking for more. We ain't got no more. So what did Balaram do? What did he offer? Tulsi. And he's satisfied, yeah? He was finally satisfied. When he'd finished eating everything, the deity of Govardhan rinsed his mouth, water from a nearby lake, and spit it out behind him, causing a luscious savana to magically appear. So he spit it out, and green, beautiful flowers have all appeared. So the meal complete, it was time for aarti, by the brahmanas. So the Vrajavasis were at loss as they scrambled to find a lamp, Mahajana, to offer to this deity, to befit the size of the massive worship of deity. Now, 5 minutes left. So I told you I would leave it on a cliffhanger, okay? If you have a copy of this book or you have the Krishna book, please read through it. The prescribed worship of Giriraj now complete. The cowherd men and women danced and sang in ecstasy, filled with bliss of having seen and served the personal form of Govardhan Hill. I want to get to this part here, the last 5 minutes we have. There's wonderful descriptions about the festival that takes place there. And then meanwhile, in heaven, Narada Muni informed Indra. So don't forget about Indra, okay? Don't forget about him. Indra, that precipitated by Krishna's disparaging remarks about him. So he tells him what Krishna said about him. The Indra Yagna has been replaced by a festival for Govardhan Hill. Indra was seated in an assembly of powerful devas and beautiful apsaras. publicly humiliated. That was Krishna's plan. Public humiliation. His face marred by dejection. He thought, how could they simply cancel my sacrifice? The complete neglect shown by the Rajvasis and the insulting words of Krishna so agitated Indra that he developed a terrible headache. Terrible headache which even the Ashwini physicians had no cure. Indra foolishly concluded that he could alleviate his pain by taking revenge against Nanda Maharaj and the villagers of Raj, especially the talkative boy who had deluded his elders. Indra's lips trembled in anger, and he called for his Samvartaka clouds. Now, these are pretty serious clouds. These are clouds when the whole cosmic manifestation is time to be annihilated. It's these clouds which flood the whole universe. So he's called these clouds. He then outlined to them a wicked plan to destroy Vrindavan, its residents and its cows. He said you should always finish on a positive, so we might. You should finish on a positive. I'm probably going to finish right in the midst of Indra's anger. Indra said, "O my faithful servants, O powerful clouds, able to destroy the 14 planetary systems, if you are truly loyal to me, then hear what I have to say and act accordingly. The cowherd men of Vrindavan, headed by their king Nanda, have stopped worshipping me at the instigation of a little boy called Krishna, whom they have accepted as their only shelter and support." That sounds like a good idea. So we should do it. Overtaken by false pride, they have abandoned worship of me in favour of worshipping a mountain called Govardhan. Thus they have offended me, who the goddess of learning constantly praises. I therefore order you to let loose incessant rains upon Vrindavan and destroy its cows. The milk those cows produce is the sole means of livelihood for that King Nanda and his followers. So pretty serious. Yeah? Kill all the cows. The torrential rains and hurricane force winds you dispatch, combined with the thunderbolts and lightning I hurl alongside you, will kill all the cows and residents of Vrindavan. So he goes on in this way. His eyes are red with fury. He's staring expectantly at the clouds that they do their duty. Yeah. And so then the clouds of destruction, they make their way towards Vrindavan. So gradually the clouds come from the north. So first what happens, so all the residents of Raj are all in ecstasy, but then these clouds start approaching from the distance. These really dark clouds, yeah. And also icy winds, lightning and icy winds come. Yeah. Then many ominously coloured clouds converged on Raj from all directions. Yeah. So it starts off with light rain. A few rain come down. Starts off with light rain. Then it turned into an incessant downpour. So it went to columns of water, fell to the earth. So it forms turbulent rivers and lakes in Vrindavan's pasture lands, hills and forests. You know? Rumbling thunder reverberated the sound of a continuous avalanche. And we know the story. Completely floods Raj, completely devastates the whole of Vrindavan. And the residents of Raj, then they remember, perhaps we've angered Indra, just see. And then they take shelter of Krishna. And then there's a wonderful description there which describes how eventually we know what did Krishna do? He lifted Govardhan hill. You know? And there's a wonderful description here as well of the scene in Govardhan hill. Actually, under Govardhan hill, it's like a heavenly planet. Everything was perfect for there was pastures, there was places for them to rest, there was waterfalls, there was lakes. This is all under Govardhan hill. And Krishna, how long did he hold up Govardhan? 7 days. 7 days, yeah. And specifically for the Rajvasis, it was very specifically they got to take darshan of Krishna for 7 days, non-stop, because Krishna's always coming and going, much to their distress. much of their blissful distress. But here, he's standing there for 7 days. And there's so many pastimes that happen while Krishna is holding up Govardhan hill. And then eventually Indra gives up. After 7 days, all his servants are exhausted. Then he comes down, we know, and he pays his respects to Krishna. Then he recites these wonderful prayers. We write wonderful prayers to Krishna. Then he becomes reinstated in his original position as a servant of the Lord. So, Hare Krishna. So we rush through to the end there. There's so much more detail, but we don't have time to read. It's such a wonderful pastime. So thank you for your kind attention. I hope reading this you became somewhat attracted to the details of this pastime. And if you do have access to this book, yes, you could read it on Wednesday. You find it so enlivening.
What time is the Abhishek and festival, sir?
Be at 4:30. No, sorry, I'm mistaken. 12:30 is circumambulation of Govardhan, of Govardhan, and then no, the Abhishek's at 4:30. Yeah, the Abhishek comes later in the day. Yeah, we have the circumambulation, we have the feast, and then we have the Abhishek at 4:30. Yeah, so please come if you have time. Yeah? Okay, we should stop there. Yeah? Hare Krishna. Thank you for your kind attention. Shri Govardhan Puja. Bye.